Hello, everybody. And I'm on here. I'm just gonna let you know I'm on here because I'm about to expose a video. I'm presenting a video here. I did not want to make this video, so it's with caution that I'm presenting this video because I have to continue to discern and test the spirits. As I've told you all before, there are many people in the spiritual realm working behind the scenes trying to orchestrate things like puppeteers. They're puppet masters pulling the strings behind the scenes, creating things to happen. And they're trying to set things up to entrap me. They're doing things, they're controlling people all around me, pitting people up against me, causing things to happen in my life and the lives of my children and other people's lives. And when I first saw this video, or when the Lord first showed me what was going on, I was with caution. I didn't want to say anything. And I feel like right now I'm supposed to say anything. And I'm just going to say this here, this disclaimer. The Lord says that whatever nets that they have set out, they'll be entangled in their own nets. Whatever traps they set, they'll fall into their own pits and their own traps. They'll be ensnared by their own snares. So whatever you're trying to do to cause me to get into some type of trouble, whatever trap you call yourself setting for me, you're going to fall in your own trap. Whoever's doing this behind the scenes, God knows. So with that being said, you all know that my son was arrested months ago. He was arrested back in May. I believe it was on May 11th. 2025. It was the Monday after Mother's Day, and he was arrested. And it was stated that he had stabbed someone. He had basically stabbed someone unprovoked. He had never even spoken a word to this individual who he stabbed. He had stabbed this Caucasian male. I don't know how old he was. He was an older guy. And he went into the locker room at this recreation center that he'd been going to on a regular basis for months. He'd been going to this recreation center. And he just basically went to the locker room while I was at work that day. And he stabbed someone. Now, I was on my lunch break, and I started to call my son. And I always call him on my lunch break. And I got distracted. A coworker started speaking to me out of the blue. I never talked to this coworker before. They started having a conversation with me, and I got distracted. And I wasn't able to call my son. And that was the same day my son got arrested for stabbing someone unprovoked. He stabbed this man. My son told me he doesn't know why he did it. He didn't know the guy. He had no problems with him. They had not even exchanged any words. He just stabbed him in the face. Fortunately, by the grace of God, the man did not suffer any major injuries. They were minor, and he was able to be released from the hospital. He was back at work. He was an employee of the recreation center. He was back at work the very next day. Now, I posted evidence of all of this, and the Lord already let me know that they were using sorcery on him. These are multiple individuals, and I told you all that same day that happened. I had a video up here when I was talking about. There were a bunch of videos that I had basically privated because I was in the process of getting a job. Even though the Lord told me not to work, I needed money because they've been blocking my income and blocking me from having money on every end. And so I needed to go back to work. So I went ahead and got this job, even though I was not supposed to get this job. The Lord allowed the door to open up for me to get this job. And I was going to work. To get the job, I had privated a lot of my videos because I did not want people to see me in a negative light, and I didn't want that to impact me getting a job. I told you all this before. So I had put these videos on private. I had never removed the videos. They were not deleted off of my page. They were still there, but I just had a way where I can have them private so no one else will see them. It was hidden from the public. And so I had that until basically after I got my job. Once the job process was over, I said I'm going to go ahead and make these videos private again. Make these videos public again. Go ahead and unhide them and unprivate them so that the public can have them on, because there was never my intention to remove the videos completely. And so like I told you that day, these people, whoever they are, this group of people, there are numerous people who are watching this YouTube channel of mine, and I'm just an ordinary woman. I'm an ordinary woman. I have no ties to the government. I have no affiliations with the CIA. I don't have any businesses. I have not done anything outside of this country. I have no type of business or anything being done outside the country. So that should tell you something, where all these eyes of all these people who are in high places of power and political positions of power and authority all over this country, and probably even outside of this country, are for some reason watching my YouTube channel and looking at all the videos that I post. And they've been monitoring everything. And so I had 3 videos on there, where one was talking about how I was trying to get a passport because the Lord had told me to get out of this country with my children a while ago. I was supposed to leave this country. And each time I tried to leave this country, something would happen to keep me held here. The first time, my children were put in foster care for nearly 4 years. The second time, my son was put in, I think, a juvenile detention center. Something happened where he was put back into foster care because he came home and he was put back into foster care. The third time, my son got arrested. This was the final time. And I was trying to go to Florida. All these things, I had dreams that they were after my son. I had a dream where the Lord gave me a dream years ago where I was walking around with my son and everybody kept trying to grab him. They kept trying to come to him and get him. And I had to protect him. I had to get people away from him, push people away. They keep trying to come up to my son, and I had to protect him. And there was another dream where I had where the Lord had told me to go to Florida. But I saw in this dream, I saw a dream where my son had these chains around his neck. He had these chains around his neck, and they had this car. These men and were pulling him with this car, and they were all like pulling him like he was a slave, pulling him with this car. And I was trying to fight and pull them off of him. And so I didn't know at that time. I thought that dream meant that if I go to Florida, this would happen to my son. So I didn't go to Florida the first time God was leading me to go there. And I stayed in Ohio. But what the Lord was letting me know, this was something that was done spiritually, that they were trying to put my son in a bondage and basically use him as a slave, like he was their property. And so I'm going to go ahead, because I made a series of videos on here. And every time I want to expose somebody, all of a sudden it comes around to me exposing a bunch of other people. And I'm at the point, because I didn't want to say anything about this, but it's gotten to the point where this needs to be said because the Holy Spirit is urging me to go ahead and speak about this. I didn't want to say anything because every time I get on here and say something, when the Holy Spirit is leading me to say something, they retaliate against me or they retaliate against my children. And this has been done numerous times where they'll call something that happened. Just like when I released this video, I had these videos of the court and the courts up here saying that we could not get a passport basically for my son to leave the country because they said they had a warrant out for his arrest. And, they put all these things out here while he was in the group home. They've said he violated and assaulted someone. All these things happened. And I had those videos private along with some other videos where I was exposing this woman who's been in my life. These two individuals who've been following me around for years, harassing me on a daily basis, doing all kinds of crimes to me behind the scenes, spiritual attacks. They've been committing spiritual attacks, buying themselves to me, doing all this stuff, putting fat all over my body, assaulting my children, taking things out of us. And I unprivate those videos. And that very same day, my son ends up stabbing this man unprovoked, and he gets arrested. So I'm going to go ahead. The Lord was showing me some things that were happening. I'm going to go ahead and put some of this evidence up here because I talked to you all before, and I wanted to go ahead and expose this woman who I told you, I said, this woman is doing this. She is the one who calls my son. She's been attacking me behind the scenes, doing things to set my son up. But it's not just them. It's an entire group of people who are working together. I told you before, they're using them as weapons. And so what I want to say here, because I don't want any backlash against my children. I don't know why we were a target. I've asked God that before. But my son was a target. My son is a target. We were targeted. This entire family has been targeted. And there's certain families who are targeted. And I believe that we were targeted because God anointed us for a purpose. Not only that, we were part of his chosen tribe. We're the chosen tribe. Like I told you before, God was showing me all these things. And there's an elite group of people who know who God has chosen to basically bring down the demonic wickedness that they're doing, that there have been basically, that has been proliferating. And they have used these two people to come up against me. I've asked over and over why when I get on this channel, as all the many political leaders and government workers and officials and highly classified people working for CIA and FBI and all over, even in the White House, these people are governors, mayors, politicians, all kinds of things. And they're watching my YouTube channel, scrutinizing everything I say, watching everything I do, surveilling me 24/7, thinking I don't know about it, having people follow me around when I walk outside my home, having people walk around and follow me around. And I've been learning a lot about that too. They have been highly profiling me, basically. I haven't done anything but get on here, live my normal life, and get on here and speak about the things that God tells me to say. And like I said before, they watch everything I say. They watch everything I do. They scrutinize me. They scrutinize my children. And I've asked God, why do they target me? Why, when I get on here and talk about the stuff that they're doing to me, all the many attacks that I've gone through, why isn't nothing done about it? Why haven't they arrested these people who they have all this evidence and they've committed all these crimes against me and my children and nothing's been done? Why? And so that's when it's been revealed to me that they're part of the Lord. Let me know that these people are assigned agents that they sent to come up against me and my family, and not only me, many other people. And so this woman, this is what we're talking about. This woman who's been the biggest proponent in my life, her and this man I talk about all the time on this channel. I don't need to name anybody's names because I talked about two particular individuals who have been heavily assaulting me and stalking me and my children, harassing us for years, and nothing's been done about it because they work for these people who have sent them to come up against me and my family. Now, like I said before, my son was arrested back in May. Unprovoked attacks. An unprovoked attack. They used sorcery on his mind. If you remember this video that I posted years ago when I said they destroyed my son, I'm going to go ahead and insert that here so you can go ahead and watch that. And I talked about in this video how they target particular individuals. They target certain children, certain men, certain children, they target them. And they basically, I don't know what the criteria is of who's targeted, but a lot of times the Lord was showing me these children are vulnerable. They're fatherless children. You know, they afflict the fatherless children, or they come from a poor, impoverished background. They're of a low economic status. They come from a poor demographic. And these usually are children who probably had some type of government assistance. They needed government assistance. Like I talked to you before a long time ago when I made this video, and I talked about how my son was going to the school where this woman came in and she wanted my son to basically engage in her services. And she said, since we were on Medicaid, that they would take care of this for us. It would be covered. And she felt my son needed these services, even though he was okay. He was not getting into any trouble. Everybody was happy with his behavior, so he was a well-mannered child. And when I was in this meeting, this initial meeting with her to get these services started for my son, she was attacking me. She was using sorcery against me. And I knew about sorcery because I'd had many psychic attacks. In my head, I had an excruciating headache that came out of nowhere, and she was sitting there causing this headaches, and she didn't think I knew. She was trying to control me and doing certain things, doing mind control on me. And she wanted me to sign my son up for these services. And I knew she was a witch because she was attacking me right there, right in my face. And so I was not about to allow my son to have services with her because I said she's a witch. And I said, we don't need the services. And I declined it. And so the next day, my son reported that she was sitting inside the classroom, just standing there staring at him. And he was complaining about having headaches ever since. And he started getting into trouble. His behavior changed out of nowhere. He had this atypical behavior where he ended up punching a girl for no reason. And I asked him why he did it. He said he didn't know at first. But then he said it's because she kept staring at him. And my son hadn't gotten into any trouble at any time before that at this school. And all of a sudden, ever since then, things had gone downhill. And I told you this, they'll label certain children, they'll cause problems with these children, they'll disrupt their lives, they'll attack these kids and control their personalities, control their behavior, use sorcery upon them in their minds, and cause them to cause problems so that they can now label them as a troubled child and put them in these services, and they'll have them in and out of getting therapy, getting psychiatric help, except that a lot of times these therapists who are disguised as therapists, the Lord already let me know before that there are people who are disguised as therapists, disguised as judges, disguised as doctors, physicians. They're your everyday people who have your regular professions, but they're actually sorcerers behind the scenes. They look like your superintendents who are running the schools. They look like the principals, but a lot of them are adept in sorcery, and behind the scenes, they're performing rituals and magic and spells. They have groups that they are part of elite groups and covens, and they've made pacts and contracts with the devil to get their wealth and to get their success. And they come back and target certain children. And usually these children are anointed. These children belong to God. and they destroy these children, and they have them getting services, and they'll have them getting this help from them where they're in and out of the system, and now they're labeled as the property of the government. They'll take them out and put them in foster care, or they'll put them in group homes. They'll have them getting care from group homes, and they'll control them. They want them to be controlled, and they'll hold on to them. You'll see them a lot of times get into trouble. They're so erratic now that their brains have been destroyed through the sorcery. The Lord told me a long time ago they were destroying my son's frontal lobe, basically destroying his behavior, where he cannot basically make rational decisions, and he has an impulse where he cannot control himself. He acts with impulse and he's very erratic. He cannot control himself. He just acts without thinking. And so I prayed over my son's brain. I prayed, I followed the discernment of the Holy Spirit. And I prayed for him to receive healing. And I saw my son improving, and even tried to have my son homeschooled. And I noticed that he would significantly change. He'd get drastically better when I had him at home and not around a lot of these witches and sorcerers in school. And so, like I said before, long story short, I took my son we moved out of state, and he was attacked there in Pennsylvania where we were. He was attacked heavily. They were doing the same old thing that they were doing when we were here we're in the state of Ohio, using sorcery on his brain, controlling him, attacking him in the classrooms, these people. And my son was in and out of trouble, in and out of jail. And this stuff started when we went to Pennsylvania at 12 years old. I saw he broke into someone's home. And that's when things started. And the Lord was letting me know then they were attacking him, using sorcery on him. He had a complete diminished breakdown. He was drawn all over his space. His behavior was so messed up. We were getting attacked left and right. We were down there by these witches and sorcerers. And I still did not know why they were targeting us. And so, like I told you before, there was an individual who was assigned to come after me. He was doing all types of spiritual attacks upon me, all types of mind control, all types of bewitchments over me, attacking me, doing everything that was possible. There was people who were following me around, astral projecting in and out. They could say all this. I've put numerous evidence on here. So I don't want this to drag out. Like I said before, every time I try to expose certain individuals, they drag other people in along with it. Basically, they want to bring everybody else down with them. If they're going to be exposed, they want everybody else to be dragged along and put in their problem also. And so this is what's been happening. Now, my son was arrested for whatever reason. They want my son behind bars. I told you this before. This man assaulted me. I was assaulted. I was violated. I was supposed to have a regular life. For some reason, they came and brought this person to come up against me. The Lord let me know that it was a person who was a part of the school that I had filed basically a due process. I had filed a complaint against a school, and they were basically in trouble. And so there was a person that was a part of that school that got this human being to come after me. They were part of the same cult and the same coven. And so all this was tied in together. These people all are affiliated together. They knew each other. And so they wanted to retaliate against me, basically. And so they got this man to come up against me. And this is when I told you all of a sudden my life just changed out of nowhere. I started being followed around. I started being harassed in stores. Wherever I went, I would see birds flying around. I would see birds hanging outside my window, just collective birds, not just a normal amount of birds. You could see about 40 birds perched on a wire waiting when I come outside my house, just sitting there. Or I would see 20 birds sitting out on my windowsill. I would go somewhere and I would see birds follow me. Or every time I go into a store, I would come outside and see the birds sitting there just watching, perched up on the thing, just watching and monitoring. The Lord let me know these were monitoring spirits a long time ago. And I would see this. People would be following me around everywhere I go, following me around the stores, following my cars, tracking me and monitoring me. I started having all types of spiritual attacks, physical attacks. My children were getting ill. We had all types of things happening to us. We were being terrorized and targeted and assaulted. So long story short, my son was getting in and out of trouble. He was taken out of the home, put in foster care. All this stuff had happened. And so we rewind back to this day when my son got arrested, after I had basically talked about how they had the courts had basically put up some type of warrant out for my son, and all this stuff was happening. I couldn't get a password. I was so upset. And I had exposed that video. I had publicly made that video public again. I had made that video public that same day. I come home, my son was arrested. I found out he was arrested. No one ever called me or said anything. This is the thing. Even though he was 18 years old at the time, he was a special needs boy. He had mental problems. He had he needed me to help him. Okay. He couldn't handle certain affairs by himself. And so they never called me and told me he was in jail. No one told me anything. And so I had to track my son's phone to find out where he was at. And that's when I had to reach out and talk to my son, just to even make an appointment to visit him. And that's where things started to unfold. Now, after my son was arrested, they wanted to hold him. They wanted to find a way to keep him there. And I was praying, and I noticed certain patterns started happening. This judge by the name of, I forgot her name. It was Cassandra Collier Williams. It was all over YouTube that she was getting backlash for letting a repeat offender out of jail.
As we told you at the top of this newscast, victims who were viciously attacked by a Northeast Ohio man are demanding justice tonight.
They say he showed no remorse, yet the judge released him. 19 investigator Mike Mason broke this story and now has the latest.
This man, Cyrus Walters, was in court here earlier this week, pleading guilty to brutally assaulting 3 men, all within the same month. However, the judge let him walk, and now his victims are outraged, and they want justice.
I'm ready to get in this cop car and face my time. Listen.
This is body cam footage of officers arresting Cyrus Walters last year for assault. Earlier this week, Walters was released from jail after he admitted to brutally assaulting 3 men.
I was fairly certain he was trying to kill me.
Walters viciously attacked David Dudley last year in downtown Cleveland. Dudley's a criminal defense attorney who was here on business. He represents clients from across the country.
I have been in front of over 1,000 judges.
But the one who's baffled him the most is Judge Cassandra Collier Williams. Earlier this week, Cyrus Walters pleaded guilty to assaulting 3 men, including Dudley.
He ran towards me and kicked me in the ribs and my shoulder, and then multiple times in the back of the head.
Dudley suffered severe contusions and a broken shoulder.
This guy is unpredictably violent.
During Walters' bench trial this past Monday, Collier Williams reduced his felony charge to a misdemeanor, allowing Walters to walk the streets of Cleveland once again.
Judge Williams didn't even put him on any kind of supervision. The prosecutor was shocked at that.
Shocked, he says, because when Walters addressed the court, he failed to take responsibility for his actions.
He neither apologized to me nor any of the other victims he acknowledged attacking. He showed no remorse, not one shred of remorse.
I feel the judge let us down.
We'll call this man Tony. Surveillance video captured Walters beating on him in Tower City.
He broke my glasses, and also I had a few knots on the back of my head. I had a ring around my eye.
Tony says he's devastated by the judge's ruling.
She just gave him time served, which is, I think, ridiculous because I feel he's a menace to society.
After assaulting Tony, Walters was arrested and released the next day to attack once again. This time, he injured a man near Whiskey Island so severely, he required stitches.
I ain't do no crime, bro. We've been walking this whole time.
Once again, Walters was arrested and released. That's when Dudley turned to 19 Investigates for help.
There was no detective on this case until right before the story ran, when they found out it was going to run.
We obtained video from the city's surveillance cameras showing Walters stumbling down the street after Dudley's attack.
By placing that on your news report, we were able to find him.
Tony identified Walters from our report, and police arrested him once again. He was again released, then rearrested. This time, Walters spent 2 months in jail until earlier this week when Judge Collier Williams let him go with time served.
The judge gave him the absolute minimum sentence that was available.
He's going to be out there doing the same thing again.
Walters was arrested again yesterday, just 2 days after being released. He now faces some minor charges in Garfield Heights. We tried to contact Walters and the judge and both the prosecutor and public defender's offices, but so far we haven't heard back. In Cleveland, Mike Mason, 19 News.
She had let this man free who had basically gotten into some trouble and assaulted someone right after getting out of jail. And I knew right away, the Holy Spirit was letting me know that they're trying to set a pattern up where they get my son the maximum, basically the maximum crime, the maximum punishment, and not let him out because they want to hold him in jail. They didn't want him released. That same judge was a judge for my son. I checked his records, the court records. Her name is not listed. She gave him the $100,000 bond, would not let him, a surety bond, meaning he could not even pay 10% to be released. He had to pay the full $100,000. We didn't have $100,000. But she's the one who was basically presiding over his arraignment and over his trial before they basically had transferred it when they found out he had a mental illness. She was the one presiding over it. I got the records because I went down to the court, the criminal division, and went to the clerk of courts, and they gave me her name, and my son confirmed that that was the one who was presiding over his case. And so I knew then they were trying to set some pattern to have this judge under backlash. And they're setting all of this stuff up because they wanted to keep my son in jail. They wanted to basically crack down on and make it seem like when these people are suffering from mental illnesses and these judges are lenient on them and release them, they go back and they repeat and they do something even worse. So they commit a crime where someone is basically hurt. And so they're trying to paint the picture where they wanted these people to be kept behind bars longer. They were basically setting up a whole pattern where when it was time for my son to go to court and have his trial, that he would be sentenced to a significant amount of time so he would not come home. And they're all behind us. Like I said, for some reason, they did not want me to have my son. And we're going back to these two people, these two individuals who were working together, where this man who had violated me and assaulted me. And again, like I said before, God wanted him to have a union with me. He wanted him to first come to him and have a relationship with him. And we together were supposed to have a union and do the work of God. Because like I told you before, this man was basically a descendant of slave owners. He'd done a lot of things, and God wanted us to work together. And he was supposed to make penance because he'd done a lot of stuff. This man was violating me, doing all kinds of things to me. He interfered in my marriage. God had a marriage for me. He had a ministry for me to do. This man interfered when he violated me. When they got him to come after me, he violated me. He caused me to lose out on my marriage. He destroyed me. He violated my daughter. And when I went to say something about this, they retaliated against me. They covered up for him. So he has people who are protecting him, who are part of the government. He has people who are protecting him, who are part of his cult, his coven. They all work together. Like I said, these people can wear the same hats of being politicians, governors, mayors, police officers, sergeants, chiefs. We don't know. I'm just saying random names, random professions. They're judges. They're everywhere. They're all part of these elite groups, and they work together and they help each other. So this man had all these people control him. Like I said, when I was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, he had a police officer call my phone one time because I contacted him because he was giving my daughter seizures at that time. He was using sorcery to cause her to have seizures. The Lord had let me know. He was showing me this, and I put all this evidence on this YouTube channel when I talked about all these videos and why the documentary, I put up the mini documentary exposing this man. He had a police officer call my phone because I called him because I was getting into trouble with my job, and he was causing my daughter to have seizures. The school kept calling me every day, telling me to come pick up my daughter, come pick my daughter up from school. And I had to keep leaving work early. And my manager there, yes, he was being, lenient with me because he knew that my daughter was having these seizures. It was out of my control. But at the same time, he was telling me if this keeps happening, I'm going to lose my job. I had to keep taking off and leaving early because the school would not work with me. They said I had to pick her up. She could not stay there. She was having seizures. And so I had to keep leaving early, and I would work at home, and I would have to leave my job. And one day I could not leave anymore because I was going to get fired. And so my mother had to get an Uber there because I could not pick my daughter up. My mother didn't have a car. And so I had to pay for my mother to get an Uber. So I called this man's phone because I had his number because he was my boss. I used to work for him. Even though I was at another job, I still had his phone number. I called him. He says, may I help you? In this condescending tone. It's like he had a smirk. He knew what he was doing. I says, I need you to pay for me to have an Uber to pick up my daughter. And I told him I wanted him to pay for an Uber because he was the one causing this. He was the one giving my daughter seizures. He was the one harassing us, messing with me, causing all these problems, causing my cars to be destroyed, causing me to have to keep fixing tires, repairing my brakes, causing things in my home to break over and over, attacking my finances. He's been doing this for years. Him and his entire group working together using sorcery. They're very adept in sorcery. And so I called him. He didn't like the fact that I called him. He hung up on me. So I called back and I left a message on his phone. I told him, I says, I'm going to call the cops on you because I know you've been violating me at night if you don't leave me alone. I left him that message. Next thing I know, later on that evening when I got home, about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, that man contacted me. And no, he had a police officer contact me, one of his police friends. And they said, because they called from a private number, they says, well, do you know so-and-so? I says, yes, I used to work for him. He lives up the street. His job is up the street from me. I used to work for him. He says, well, he does not want you calling his phone number anymore. He doesn't want you to call him anymore. So don't call his phone anymore. And I was so angry because I'm like, look at this. He can get the law on me when he's the one harassing me and my children, caused my daughter to have seizures, had been violating me for years. And he can get a police officer to call me and nothing happens. The man he just told me, he didn't even give me his name. He just said he was a police officer. And he told me to leave him alone, not to call him anymore. And so that's when I made this video. I'm making this video because I'm a victim. Me too. I'm a victim of a man who has been raping me for several months, violating me, coming into my body and attacking my family. And I can't get any help. Because the police are on his side. No one would do anything. This man has been asked to project it into me. And shoot, a Satanist who uses sorcery to attack someone. He's a coward by the name of James P. III. And I met him at a job, at a place, and he attacked me.
And he's a coward. And he hides behind the police and lies. But me and my family have suffered and been tormented for months at his hands. He follows me around. He astral projects into my home. He's attacked my children. And he even attacked my daughter. Choked her. We go back and forth to the doctor and the hospital. No one can do anything. He put something in her head and make her have seizures. He's been basically tormenting us and getting away with it. And it's not right. And I cry out to God and he's done nothing. Now he has the audacity to call the police on me like I'm a criminal. But I'm asking for justice. For the saints who truly know to pray for justice and judgment.
Now, these two people, like I said before, he knows this woman who has been assaulting me for years. They lived in the same area. They were friends on Facebook. And these two people were both bothering me. She was following me around in the spiritual realm. When I was living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I lived in the same area, right in the same townhomes, right next to her sister. They were all here. These people have been following me along, and these people have all been planted in my life. This woman works for the government. She has ties for the government. She talked about it before, working for children and families, working for the Department of Children's Services, being a caseworker, overseeing visits where children were taken out of the home and they were having supervised visits, and she would oversee those. She was running to be a politician in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So they all have ties to the government. These are all people who are ties and part of the same group and the same affiliation. Now, the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because they have an agenda where they wanted to keep my son behind bars. This man did not want, I don't know what the issue is, why they want my children so much, why they want my children locked up. I don't know why anybody else wants them locked up. I know why this man wanted my children locked up. He wanted them locked up because at the time he thought that he was going to marry me, but he did not want my children around. He was, like I said, he didn't want to take care of my children. God was requiring him to make penance to me. And in order to have me, the conditions were that he needed to accept Jesus Christ and turn his life over to God, leave behind his covenant and all that other stuff, and take care of the kids. Because see, my children were supposed to have a father. My children, I was supposed to have gotten married. And since he interfered with the man I was supposed to marry and took my children's father away from them, the father they would have had when I got married, because I was supposed to be preparing for my mate at that time. My father, when I first came back to God, he told me to prepare for a mate, and he taught me how to be a virtuous woman. I became celibate, and I was getting ready to get ready for my mate, and this man came and violated me, and he stopped everything. And so he did not want to take care of my children. He did not want to be seen with a woman who I talked about this before. He wanted to put my children away. And not only that, he was violating my daughter. He was not supposed to be around my kids. And so he made up all these things and caused my kids to be taken out of the home. That's when he started controlling my son. He had the witches and sorcerers in the schools who were part of his coven, who were disguised as superintendents and principals. They were all part of the same organization and network, and they would follow his commands and attack my children in the classroom. They would attack my son and cause him to get in all these legal problems, all these troubles. They were all under his jurisdiction and his power and his authority. They were doing what he told them to do. I would start going to work and I would see police cars follow me out of nowhere, just follow me, monitor me everywhere I go when I'm leaving. He had them doing this. And so they wanted my son to be locked up, and they did not want my son here. He wanted to have his way with me without my son around. And not only that, they're using my son as their property. Like I said before, they target these individuals. And they'll use them to target them and use them for their purpose. They'll use them as their property, whatever they want to do with my son. I guess they feel that they're going to put my son over to Satan's kingdom and use his anointing, use the power and the gifts that God's put inside of him. No, my son belongs to Jesus Christ. He belongs to God. Jesus Christ has already ransomed him. Now, they tried to set this up to say that this judge was releasing these repeat offenders so they can have my son get this maximum, I guess, consequence, basically not be released. And so I guess that did not work. But back in August, as you see this case here, this woman, the Lord let me know when I first saw this case that they caused it. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Mecklenburg County. As you remember, I was trying to get charges pressed against this woman in Mecklenburg County when she was in Mecklenburg County there. I'm going to insert this video. My head is hurting. I'm in excruciating pain right now because, like I said, a woman just assaulted me spiritually. She did a psychic attack on me. It was hitting my ocular nerve, some part of my brain, and I nearly lost my vision. I was in excruciating pain. It's still hurting to this point. I temporarily lost sight of my vision. My vision was blurry. I saw squiggly lines. This woman has been coming on a daily basis, insulting me in the spiritual realm, doing magic and witchcraft, has openly admitted to doing magic and being a sorceress, has openly admitted to practicing spells and using a spell book to cause my son to have a charge and get arrested and removed out of the home. And this is assault. At this point, I am tired of dealing with it. I don't know what to do. I've contacted the Charlotte, North Carolina Police Department in Mecklenburg County. And as I speak to people, they keep transferring me to different lines. I guess people don't know as I explain this bizarre situation, what help do I get for someone who's assaulted me by using magic? I am trying my best to get help, and I hope that others who can bring awareness to this and just start. I've been praying, but this woman cannot keep getting away with this assault. These are the current options that I have. It says communicating, threat, harassing, phone calls, damage to property, stolen property, theft, or vehicle. These are only options they give you. There's nothing on here about assault or anything else. So I don't know what to pick. I don't even know how to get this police report filed, but I'm going to do it. I'm not going to let this go forward. You're not going to keep harassing me and mistreating me and assaulting me and getting away with it. So I'm going to try and figure out how to get this police report filed. I mean, when I clicked on some of these options, like I said, it doesn't really I don't even know what to use. I don't know what this falls under. I mean, even if I put here communicating threats, let's say if I click this here, communicating threats, the way it's set up, it's like it just gives you, a certain amount of options. And I'm tired. So it's like, I filled this out before, and it's like, I don't know which option to choose under the questions they give you. I tried to spare you the embarrassment, but a few months ago. Now, I cannot get anything done about it. She was assaulting me that day. She's been using sorcery. They're very highly adept in sorcery. Like I said, you can change my whole physical appearance. You can go from looking like this to looking like this. And they have changed everything about me. Now, the reason why I'm on here is because they have been doing everything in their power to disguise what they've been doing. They've been hiding behind the scenes, covering it up, making me and my children seem like the problem, making everybody else seem like the problem. They have been using these people as weapons to fulfill their agenda. It's a win-win for them because they're doing this. They've tried to paint the narrative to make it seem as if to get this law implemented, that those who have repeated offenses or those who are mentally ill, that they will have harsher crimes, for harsher punishments and sentences, longer sentences, so they cannot get out of jail because they were doing this to target my son. They wanted him to stay behind bars. So this man, I guess he still had it in his mind that he can do what he want to do. For one, they want to use him for their own agenda. And this man wanted to be able to have his way with me. I don't know. They've been seeking and targeting me and my children out for the longest. And again, you say it isn't all about me. I'm not making this about me. I'm just letting you know what God revealed to me. If it wasn't about me, ask this question, answer it, because I've been asking everybody to answer this question for years, and no one has answered me this question. Why is everybody following me around, targeting me and my children? Why? Why have the focus been on us when I'm living my life as a normal civilian, a normal human being trying to take care of two special needs children, and all of a sudden I'm thrust into a nightmare overnight where I have everybody targeting me, witches and sorcerers following me around everywhere I go, people binding themselves to me, people assaulting me, people taking my kids out this house and coming up with all kinds of lies to entrap us and put us in captivity. Why do I have all these people following us around? Why are governors and politicians and FBI agents watching my YouTube channel, even though I've done nothing to anyone? I'm not committed any crimes. I just did what God told me to do. But you're sitting here watching me like I'm somebody from a foreign country, some spy from a foreign country who come here to take top secrets from the government and give it to everybody else. You really have been following me around. It almost seems bizarre that a regular human being who knew nothing about none of this stuff. I didn't know anything about witchcraft or sorcery when I first started this. This was brought to me and put upon my doorstep. I was trying to raise my children. I was preparing to be a wife. I had just written a fitness book about losing weight. And all of a sudden, these people come out of nowhere in my life, invaded and infiltrated my life because somebody decided to retaliate against me and bring these people in my life. And ever since then, we've been living a nightmare. And so it's like we have been targeted. They've been taking everything from us, following us around, taking all of our stuff, would not leave us alone. They're after my son. They're after me, doing all kinds of things. You're wasting public resources You say you don't like when the public is wasting taxpayer money on giving somebody food stamps, but you're sitting here patrolling around in cars, hiring top agents, private agents, secret agents to follow me around, and all you see me doing is going back and forth to the store, or walking the dogs, or hanging out with my kids, scrolling on my phone, posting videos, reading my Bible, watching TV. Really? That's just absurd. But if that's what you want to do, then feel free, because you're wasting money. You're wasting taxpayer money. And not only that, you have caused people, you're using people as weapons. Like I said before, they're using them as weapons. They use this man as a weapon. Right in Mecklenburg County, this happens just a couple months after my son was arrested. Not even 2.5 months later, this happens where this man randomly, as you look here, this was a random attack. He didn't know her. There was no words exchanged. And he never spoken to this woman. They can use sorcery and turn anyone into a weapon. Like I told you before, they can use sorcery. They can jump. They can bind themselves to someone. They can control a human being, especially people who have already been in the system, people who are already had some type of mental issues. These are vulnerable people who are already mentally ill. And they're targeting these mentally ill and disabled people who they've had services with them before. And so when they have services, again, they can now control them, because they're using this sorcery upon them. They're doing things to their brain, and they're setting these things up. They have all types of weapons that they can use to target. Now, all this stuff is happening because these people came in my life and brought me in the middle of this. And I want to expose all of it, because we're tired. I just want to be left alone. God sees what has been done, and I know now I can't just be left alone, so God has to fight this battle. But people have lost their lives. Innocent people are losing their lives. Innocent blood is on their hands. So that young woman who died, that innocent blood is on the hands of those who have been targeting me and my children and using people as weapons so they can incriminate my son. They would drag everyone in along with them to get what they want. You wanted to target my son. You wanted to keep him locked up. You want to retaliate against me, and you're now using innocent people. Innocent people are involved in this entire scheme. Innocent people have been dragged into this. This has been going on for a long time. These people will drag everybody down with them, and that's what they want to do. They have been using sorcery and controlling people. Like I said before, when I talked about the spiritual violation, they're using people. They're pitting my neighbors up against me. They're causing people to get involved in this, and a lot of these people are doing this because they're forcing them to do it, or they're not even aware that they're doing it. They're using sorcery upon them. And like I said, I wanted to go ahead and expose this woman. She has been sitting here following me around for years, but she does not want me to expose just her. So she continues to take over the narrative and have everybody else being dragged in the middle of it. So this is why everybody's been getting exposed. And the Lord already let me know when I had a dream a long time ago, about probably a couple years ago, I had a dream where she was lying on the floor, messing with this white couple, this Caucasian couple, a man and a woman. She went over there bobbing them and hitting them and bobbing them, and she would smile and laugh and roll back away and roll next to me so it looks like it's me. And so you get on here, you're watching me. They have the CIA and all these people investigating me, and I'm just a regular human being, but you're watching me. You're angry at me, and you think that I'm exposing stuff about you. No, I came on here to talk about the things of God. I only know what is happening to me. They involve me in all this stuff. And so this woman and this man who are following me around, who have been targeting me for years, they want to drag everybody in it to make it look like I was the one who's the perpetrator. I was the one causing trouble. I'm the one exposing all the Illuminati's top secrets and top secrets from the CIA and the FBI and the government. I don't know anything about it. Like I said before, I don't know any secrets about the FBI. I only know what's being brought to me and what's being put in my face. Videos popping up across my page. She's sending videos to me over and over, and I know it's her sending videos because one of the videos I saw that just randomly popped up across my page, I see her in the comments going back and forth in the comments with another individual, with other people, stirring trouble again, stirring up trouble.
the point. What I'm saying.
That's really.
Where and why did this interaction go so wrong? You just saw the final escalation, but let's dissect the small moments that slowly built up the conflict. Look at how different the initial interaction is from the violent finish.
Have a channel?
Yeah, we're doing some interviews today.
I love your skin tone too.
Thank you. Such a good vibe.
Of course.
Well, awesome. So you have a pretty positive view of Planned Parenthood.
I mean, majority. I don't know. Is this like a yes or no? Am I wrong?
It's your opinion.
But yeah, that is definitely my opinion. I think, girl, just get rid of it if you know you're gonna do that.
Get rid of them. Why not just give them to another family? That's good.
No, but exactly even that, and that's another option that Planned Parenthood offers. To me, it's always pro-choice, your body, your life, because that baby is gonna be a baby.
It's a baby.
Yeah.
The girl makes a bid for humor and gets shut down with a signal of contempt. This is the look a woman might give a guy at a bar to signal she's not interested in continuing the conversation. No eye contact, uninterested expression. This is a dismissive signal in response to the girl's attempt at lightening the mood. You can tell it makes her uncomfortable with the fidgeting that happens immediately after, moving her phone, grabbing her purse, and messing with her jacket.
Don't ever sit here and lock yourself down with a man who already told you he doesn't want to be with you. I
agree with you.
Here we had a beautiful opportunity for de-escalation. She does it with a combative tone, but the interviewer offers a concession by saying she agrees with the girl. The girl quickly matches the respect shown.
I'm not disagreeing with you either. I understand.
But as you can tell, the mutual respect was short-lived, as the interviewer interrupts her to ridicule an earlier point she made.
You don't get to kill the baby just because their dad didn't want them.
You can.
Should we kill the kids in foster care?
Why not?
We're now in the territory of full reactance, where both sides are no longer listening to each other and the goal is just to win the argument.
Why not, if that's the case?
We should kill the kids in foster care that aren't wanted?
Who's going to take care of them? I need to know the percentage of people who take. That's not even logical.
It is.
Who are you, Nancy?
I sound dumb.
You
sound dumb as. Okay.
It does.
But you went from saying that my outfit was really cute to saying I'm an effing idiot. That's so mean.
But I think that your point of view is very obstructed, and I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with babies in foster care and children that have been abused.
Not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really.
I want to make it clear here that I'm not condoning violence. The intent is not to excuse behavior or take a side, but rather to analyze why things happened the way they did. The first time I watched the video, there was a clear-cut opinion I had on who the aggressor was. But watching it again through the lens of psychology and nonverbal communication gave that opinion more nuance and context. If we take that same approach to our own actions, we may discover we're contributing more towards the chaos that we say we're trying to avoid. Stay mindful and change your behavior.
You had such a vindictive vendetta against me all these years that you did everything in your power to destroy my life out of envy and jealousy. You wanted to take over my life. You wanted to hijack my life. You're already envious of me, following me around for years, copying and emulating everything I was doing. And then when I exposed you, when the Lord finally showed me what was happening, because he got fed up with it, you and your family and all your other fellow covens and sorcerers or witches who are involved, who are following you around and all doing what you call them to do, you got mad and got even more incensed with anger and made it a vengeance of yours. You made it basically an oath and an assignment of yours. You vowed to destroy my life. You made it your agenda to destroy me and my children, everybody affiliated with me. And that is what happened as a result. You and this other man who's affiliated with you, who's been targeting me for years, you have brought everybody along with you and it caused them to get into trouble with them. So now God has no choice but to continue to keep fighting for me, and all these other agencies are involved, and they should not have been involved. But they're involved because you would not leave me alone, and they're involved because you all have not made these people leave me alone. And maybe you caused them to do this. Whoever brought them along, whoever sent them after me, that's what caused all of this whole spiral of events. So now there's innocent blood on the hands. And if you want to go ahead and look at this right here, I'm going to go ahead and put this last video here.
And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they gotta investigate the material in my body. Since they want to do all that, now they gotta investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine. She's from Russia, and you know they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand, out of all people, why her?
It ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Who else was working out? whoever was working the material, whoever was working the material they lashed out on.
This recording was leaked from inside the prison during a phone call with his sister, where he claimed that a material implanted in his body by the government was what drove him to kill Iryna Zarutska. The recording reveals disturbing details about his mental state, especially since he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and believed that the victim was reading his thoughts before the attack. What made the horror even worse was the video released afterward, showing Iryna bleeding on the floor after being stabbed 3 times, while bystanders ran away without intervening. A chilling example of the bystander effect.
New tonight, CMPD has released body camera video that shows an interaction with the man who would months later be accused of killing a woman on the light rail.
I think I spoke with you before about this. You think you got somebody inside controlling you, right?
And in this video, you see first officers responding to DeCarlos Brown outside of a hospital and talking to him for about 25 minutes as they say he appeared to be going through a mental health challenge. Brown appears to walk away agitated. Police say at that point he called 911 again. More officers then arrived and eventually arrested Brown for misusing 911. Brown faced a magistrate in court and was allowed to be released from jail by promising to appear at his next court appearance. Well, 7 months after that, he was then accused of killing this woman, Iryna Zarutska, on Charlotte's light rail. State leaders then passed a law that will now no longer allow suspects to be able to get out of jail without bond. That law takes into effect on Monday, but as Channel 9's Joe Bruno learned today, local leaders are concerned. Joe, they think this could lead to some different problems.
Well, Mecklenburg County officials are preparing for more people to be held inside the jail for longer periods of time. They are worried, though, that this is an unfunded mandate. State lawmakers passed sweeping criminal justice changes after Iryna Zarutska was stabbed to death on the light rail in August.
It's scary for me to read sometimes. I'm like, how did they get out? And so I believe they had good intentions.
The lawmakers cracked down on repeat offenders and got rid of written promises to appear, which is what Zarutska's murder suspect, DeCarlos Brown, was released on months before the murder. The law goes into effect Monday, and county commissioners are expecting a big impact.
I'm almost speechless about the impacts to across the board here.
I see a backlog happening as a result of these arrests not being able to move people out of the system.
Chief Judge Roy Wiggins says his judges and magistrates have been trained on the new law, and he believes they are ready. First appearances will likely get longer. Judicial officials also will have to consider a suspect's criminal history when granting pretrial release, and will have to enter a written finding of fact if they do so. Sheriff Gary McFadden expects more people will be held in jail and for a longer period of time. He's worried about staffing.
Each dorm or pod room has to have a body. So when we talk about capacity, we could deal with it, but we have to have the staff to manage it.
If you are charged with a violent crime or you are convicted of at least 3 crimes in the past 10 years, you will no longer be able to get an unsecured bond. And this is not just a Mecklenburg County issue. Counties across the state are preparing for Iryna's law to go into effect. Alamance County is seen as one of ICE's top allies in the state. They recently had to end their contract with ICE to house inmates there because they need that space now to the expected increase of offenders due to Iryna's law. Reporting live outside the Government Center, Joe Bruno, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
This woman, as you see now after her murder, they have basically implemented this law where now they're going to have some severe harsh punishments. If a person has repeated offenses more than 3 within 10 years, they cannot have a bond at all. They're going to have all this stuff going on. And like I said before, this was the setup because they want to keep him behind bars. They want to keep my son behind bars. They want to paint him as, put him away and say he was this felon. And every time you do something, God exposes it. and it backfires upon you. You've been targeting me for years. I've got on this channel numerous times and asked for these people to be removed, and no one will remove them because you thought it was okay to use them to attack me, and it was fine when they were retaliating against me. But now this sorcery is out of hand, and they're being able to use it against innocent people now, using them as weapons. And this is why God wanted laws against sorcery. He wanted laws to stop sorcery, because this should not be anyone could just use sorcery and do what they want. There's supposed to be some type of restrictions or some type of impositions imposed where you cannot just do what you want to do. Just like with driving a car and everything else, I put out this petition years ago to see if there could be some type of laws implemented to stop sorcery and witchcraft being used just basically recklessly and irresponsibly, and nothing was done about it. And so, as you know, in the Bible says, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So everybody who's living by their sorcery, guess what now? It's starting to backfire. And this is why you're seeing people losing their lives. People are turned up against each other. More and more people are being put behind bars because they're using it with no type of control now. There are no type of laws or caps placed upon them. They can do whatever they want with this sorcery and witchcraft. And it's gotten to the point where it's out of hand. And yes, it's sad that innocent people had to lose their lives. One person has died. She's gone. A young girl has lost her life. Another man is now behind bars and getting ready to have basically the death penalty, because it says that President Donald Trump has basically voiced that he wants the death penalty given to this man. And so these people are being controlled because you want an agenda to fulfill, but God sees everything and he is the judge. And so don't think that this is something that you're going to get away with when you're having people, you're controlling people and using them to do these things by using sorcery upon them, then saying it's a mental illness or they had a mental break, but you're using sorcery. You're using sorcery and controlling these human beings, and it's easier to target them because they have a disability or because they had a history of mental illness. So you can easily say, oh, it was a mental illness that caused this, but it was you doing sorcery upon them all along, and God sees that. No one else might not see it. Other people might not know, but the truth shall be uncovered. God sees it. And if these people have to lose their lives and pay for something, if they have to pay and be held accountable, you have to be held accountable also. That is what God is saying. Thank you. Coming to the conclusion of this video, the Holy Spirit gave me a word of knowledge and let me know for years, these people who were supposed to have been dealing with all of the oppression and the bondage of their people, who were being caught up and victimized in the foster care system, in the county jails, the prisons, all these things that are affecting the demographics, the poor black race or minority people. They were supposed to have been dealing with this. They have these jobs, they're sitting on these jobs, and they were supposed to have been handling this. God gave them the job and they knew what they were supposed to have done. And they did not do what they were supposed to have done to help their people, to free their people. So they've been sending these people to me. They've been sending this to me by causing problems in my life, buying themselves to me, feeding information to me through witchcraft and sorcery, or popping videos up on my YouTube channel or my Instagram page trying to get me involved. All these people are coming to me. You're bringing these problems to me, telling me information or exposing information to me by pointing it out, making it stand out like a magnifying glass, showing it to me. This was not my burden to carry. I was never supposed to have been dealing with the foster care system, the government, county jail, juvenile detention center, none of these things. But all those people who knew God, who set up in the churches, or people who knew they had a purpose, that God was showing them they were supposed to do something, or they were sitting on these jobs, whether they were supposed to do something or not by God, whether God told them or not. Many of these people who set up on these jobs, and they saw these things that were going on, corrupt things going on behind the scenes on these jobs, and they didn't have they must have, maybe they tried to do things about it, or they didn't have the means to do anything because they're not fighting with the Holy Spirit inside of them. Or they were too afraid to do it. They didn't want to get involved, and they wanted to hide behind the scenes, and they were afraid. They were cowardly. They didn't want to have any backlash. They didn't want to face the repercussions. So they've been sending all this mess to me, sending their people to me, and putting the burdens on me and my children. And it was unfair to us because we have suffered. My life was destroyed. God did not mean for me to deal with any of this stuff. I was sitting here taking care of two special needs children. I was by myself, a single woman with two special needs children, and my mother, an elderly mother. We had no one to help us. We had no resources. We did not have the support of the black community or any of these people. Like I said, when my kids were taken out this home and I went to all those civil rights organizations to have them fight for me and help me get my kids back, no one stood up for us. When I put out a GoFundMe page to get money to help me fight, to hire an attorney to bring my children back home, no one stood by us. We had no one. We didn't have the rallying and support of the community. And it's unfair that you had all this brought on our plate, things that we were not supposed to have dealt with. God gave me one job to deal with, and that was dealing with single mothers with children, young mothers, young teenage mothers, not dealing with the foster care system, teaching them how to be a better mother, teaching them how to take care of their children, helping them, giving them resources, giving them food, praying for them, taking their kids places and giving them a relief, helping them in that way. Dealing with impoverished young mothers. I was never supposed to deal with the foster care system, the government, any of these things, the CIA, the FBI. I was never supposed to deal with any of this. These people are part of the Illuminati, all these witches and sorcerers. That was not supposed to have been my agenda. I was not supposed to deal with any of that. That was not my destiny. That was not my blueprint. I had nothing to do with that, and I was not prepared for any of that. But you all who were afraid to deal with this, you did not want to deal with it. You knew you were on the jobs. You knew you weren't doing what you were supposed to have done. It was selfish that you brought it across my path and made me and my children now suffer and carry your burden and bear your shame. And then when I needed help to deal with this stuff, you watched me suffer alone. Oh, you hide in secret and show me little things, but you're not helping me. I have been ostracized. You know, I cannot have any money. I could not have any money for years. This man and his organization has targeted me because they felt that I was attacking their organization. All their elite people sat here and got mad at me because you put this burden upon me, and they kept me from having jobs. They attacked me so I could not have any money. They cut off all of my resources. They had me and my children surveilled and ostracized for years. They have abused and tormented me and my children. We have suffered. We have suffered. We have been, my children, my son has been in and out of institutions and juvenile jails, and there's been not one person to offer us anything, not a dime to help us, not a dime to help us fund these legal battles that we've gotten involved in because you have put your burdens on us, these families who are supposed to have done this. And now you have us targeted. You have people watching our channel, have all these people sending radiation, sending all types of attacks, any type of attacks and weapons at us, having us involved with stuff that we should have never been involved with. Like I said, this is high profile things that is meant for a person who was violated, who was giving out classified information, and they're being assaulted this way. You've had us tormented. You'll put us on the radar of these people because you did not want to deal with what you're supposed to do. When you found some sneaky way to put it off on me, that's why you're all binding yourself to me, taking my stuff. But you lived my life. You lived the life me and my children were supposed to have. While your children are going to school and graduating from college, my children were being taken off and shipped off to foster care and being locked up in all these abusive environments, being subjected to abuse, being subjected to all kinds of things because you all wanted to get me involved so I can fight for your people. Well, guess what? I can't fight for you anymore. I'm not going to carry the burdens anymore. And I ask God to relieve me of it because a lot of you were supposed to do this yourselves, and you sat in here all along. You lived your life the way you wanted to. You did not submit unto God. You have your gods and idols. You serve your deities. You do sorcery and witchcraft. Many of you still have not turned to God and walked the way you're supposed to in righteousness and have the Holy Spirit and leading and guiding you and fighting for you and protecting you. Wouldn't need me if you had the Holy Spirit yourself. And then you tell me I'm shoving things down your throat. No, you have put your burdens on me, and you would not leave me and my kids alone. You forced this onto me, and we suffered because of what you have done. Because you thought you could sneakily do this and get me involved and then have me and my children face the burdens and bear the pain and the shame and all the abuse and the consequences by ourselves and have all these people fighting up against us because you were too basically cowardly and did not want to handle and deal with your things yourself. You all put your burdens upon me and made me to carry that burden. This was never my burden to carry. And like I said, now that I'm carrying the burden solely alone, me and my kids, there's nobody we can go to. We sit here, we have no money. We've been living here in dire poverty with nothing for all these years. You've swapped everything and put your burdens upon us. And you like I said, everything. You've changed everything about me physically. You put your burdens upon me physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. And we should not have to carry your burdens. It is unjust to us what was done. And so now I'm asking God, you have to fight your own battles now. Yes, God, you have used us. You have used us to fight and fight for your people. We have not gotten any gratitude for anything. We have done all this spiritual work in the background to go through all these things to bring awareness to what was done. And we have been treated like pretty much like garbage by everyone. No one has embraced us. No one has helped us. No one has even given us a thing when we needed it. And so, no, we will not be carrying these burdens anymore. I have told God I want to be alleviated of it. It is time for you to deal with it yourself. And many of you who put your burdens upon me in secret and made me suffer like this and attack me and violate me, God will judge you and deal with you. Thank you.